As schools implement emergency remote learning plans to prepare for long-term closures, we're committed to helping you in any way we can. If your teachers are planning to teach remote classes with their students during these closures, LanSchool Air can help enhance that experience. That's why we're offering complimentary LanSchool Air licenses to schools in this situation through July 1. Now, this offer is available to any education customer located in a country where LanSchool Air is currently available. As of today, that includes the United States and Canada. We're going to look at what features can have the most impact in this scenario, and we'll walk through how to get started with an implementation. So, what does LanSchool do for you in a remote learning environment? Well, LanSchool is a classroom management software that focuses on three key things. The first is guiding classroom learning by allowing teachers to see the screens of the student devices and manage their website access during class. The second is about promoting collaboration through integrated student chat and messaging, including the option for students to raise their hands virtually, so teachers can address their student questions quickly. Finally, it's about making the most of class time by pushing websites out to the class quickly and get everyone on the same page. Now, before we start talking about how to deploy LanSchool Air, let me show you how it can help teachers who are teaching live classes with students in a remote learning environment. Teachers will log into LanSchool Air using a browser on their own device. LanSchool Air supports Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and the latest version of Edge. The first step is setting up a class. Now, if students are using Chromebooks, importing classes from Google Classroom is often the quickest way to get this started. We also offer clever rostering integration and the ability to manually create classes. Now, we'll cover those options further in a few minutes. The teacher will enter a class and click the green Start Class button to pull in their students. The teacher will see the students' screens appear in real time. This helps mimic the physical classroom environment and brings the teacher closer to each remote student, allowing them to aid and encourage students during the class session. Switching to Class List View will show you each student and what website they're currently on, if any. Selecting any one student will show you their screen and what browser tabs they have open. At any time during the class session, students can click on the LanSchool Air icon on their own device and either raise their hand or send the teacher a message. The teacher will get notified and can respond one-on-one with that student to provide an additional level of engagement and encouragement. Teachers can also create a list of allowed websites so that students are encouraged to remain on task during the class session. This web limiting list can be applied to one student, a few students, or the entire class. Students will be notified which website is being blocked and which websites are allowed so that they can redirect themselves and stay on task. When the live class session is over, the teacher exits class and will no longer be monitoring the students. Any restrictions that were enabled during class will be lifted automatically. So now let's talk about how you can claim your complimentary licenses and get started setting up and using LanSchool Air. To get started, you'll first need to claim your licenses so that we can set up a full account for you. Go to lanschool.com and click on the banner at the top of the page to pull up the form. We recommend asking that the person in your organization who's responsible for setting up and configuring new software be the one who fills out this form. Now, once submitted, a member of our team will contact you to discuss your situation, how many students you have using LanSchool Air, and get your account and your licenses set up. Now, setting up LanSchool Air requires that your IT team install a small client on each student device. Now, for students using Chromebooks, this client can be deployed using the Google Admin Console. There are 2 extensions that need to be deployed, and I'll show you where you can find those. For students using Windows or Mac devices, the client can be deployed using a standard software deployment tool, like Configuration Manager, Group Policy, or Jamf. Now, if your students are remote, or if they're using personal devices, we have another way that students can install the client themselves. Now, of course, they'll need to have appropriate permissions on their device to install software first. Once we get an account set up for you, you'll receive an email to activate your LanSchool Air account. Click on the link to accept the invitation and set up a new password or connect it with your Google account. A quick tutorial will appear to give you a tour of the interface and walk you through testing it out with a Windows or a Mac device. This is a process that your teachers can use too to generate a link and allow students to install the client themselves on their own Windows or Mac devices. More on this in a moment. To begin deploying LanSchool Air in your environment, open the sidebar menu to navigate to Settings. First, click on the Provisioning tab and make sure that the window is open for the duration of time that you'll be using LanSchool Air. This allows new devices to be added as you begin deploying the client. For instructions on how to mass deploy the client to your student devices, navigate to the Setup page. For Chromebooks, walk through these instructions to configure Google Admin to force install the LanSchool Air extensions. There are two. You'll find the extension IDs listed here. Assign them to force install for the correct organizational unit in G Suite where your student user accounts are located. For the LanSchool Air for Chromebooks extension, be sure to copy and paste the JSON code displayed here into the Policy for Extensions field in Google Admin. Once configured, the extensions will automatically install the next time those students log in to a Chromebook. To mass deploy the client to Windows or Mac devices using a standard software deployment tool or MDM platform, you can download the MSI or package installers here. Refer to the example scripts and links to configure your deployment tool with the correct installation parameters. As we mentioned before, if you don't have the means to deploy the LanSchool Air client to a student's device, teachers can use the Add to Class Roster option in class to generate a temporary URL that students can use to download the client and install it on their own device. I'll show you how that works in just a moment. With the client set to deploy, it's time to add instructors to LanSchool Air. Navigate to the People tab and select Add Person. You can enter the email addresses of your teachers here or upload a CSV of emails. Then click Send Invite. Teachers will receive an email with a link to activate their LanSchool Air account. They'll have the option of setting up a password or connecting it to their Google account. Once logged in, the teacher can begin setting up their classes. Now, if you enable Clever integration, classes assigned to that teacher in Clever will appear here for them automatically. If students are using Chromebooks, the quickest way to get started is for teachers to sync their Google account with LanSchool Air and import classes from Google Classroom. They'll click the Sync Google Account option in the sidebar menu, log into their Google account, and allow access for LanSchool Air to import their Google Classroom. If students are using a mix of devices, teachers can create a class manually. Chromebook students or Windows and Mac devices that already have the LanSchool Air client installed will be available in this list to be added to the class roster. If a student does not yet have the LanSchool Air client installed on their device, the teacher can click the Add to Class Roster option while in class to generate a one-time use URL that students can use to download the client. They'll need permissions to install it on their own device, but once they do, they'll appear in this teacher's class. Be sure to leave this window open until all of the students have successfully downloaded and installed the client. Closing and reopening the window will generate a new URL that students will need to use. Once all of your student devices appear in this list, you can click Done. These students will not need to reinstall the client again unless they're joining a new class. Now I know we covered a lot of information in a short time here. We understand that your time's valuable and that you have a lot of competing priorities during this critical time. Everything we covered here and more is available online in our LanSchool Air knowledge base. From here you can search for helpful guides and articles or simply chat with a member of our support team. We're here to help in any way we can. Thanks for everything you do. Stay safe, healthy, and happy teaching.